Those four main blocks of prayer I found wonderful. So I felt very challenged, but at the same time very, very daunted, but very, very excited and inspired. With morning prayer, one is thinking of dawn and the beginning of the day, of giving thanks for a new day, and everything evolves around that. And of course, the texts which I was given were quite diverse. There's Zechariah, which was one of them, is totally different from the beginning one, which was the beginning of the day, the dawn, happening. It's really very much about thanks and being grateful for awakening, the awakening of the dawn, the awakening of the presence of light coming into our lives, if you like, and looking out of the window and seeing these mysterious shapes because light hasn't quite identified with these shapes. And then you see a tree coming up, then you start to see colours, beautiful, beautiful colours as the dawn, rises. And that in itself is very inspirational. Texts, of course, are very, very important because they can highlight certain things. They can also give ideas, not necessarily concerned with the actual words, but other ideas can come very much forward through the poetry, through the scripture verses. And so one is getting ideas the whole time, of trying to express through the language of music what the words are saying. It's not always easy to write. Sometimes, I'm longing to write and I'm there in front of my piece of, manuscript and nothing comes at all. So you go and make yourself another cup of coffee, or you go and wash your hands, or you walk around the garden, hopefully that you'll come back and something else will be there. It doesn't matter that it's not there because something is always going on. These seeds are being planted, but they're not necessarily ripe at that particular moment to write down. And gradually these seeds evolve and take root, and then you start writing. You get an idea and you start writing, and the music somehow is the music it springs from this source of origin. You mentioned meditation. And for me, this is a very, very important part of my prayer life. It's not for everyone, and I realise that. I find it extremely difficult, but I found it a very, very powerful way of prayer. And I think there's an enormous amount of creative power to be found through silence. That is through stilling the mind. And I need my mind to be stilled because it's very, very disruptive. I look at the bees on my lavender plant just outside in the garden, trying to find the nectar and things like that. Then they're off again and they're all buzzing around, but they're never constant. And this is as my mind is. It's always looking for something else to do. It'll flit there, it'll go to something else, it'll want to, explore something else. And what I need to do more than anything else is to still the mind. And that for me is the hardest thing. However, through stilling the mind, there is an incredible power and source of energy, because I'm getting away from all the superfluous thoughts that I might have, which detract actually from the creative force.
We're actually sat in the room where you say you do quite a bit of your own prayer and meditation, and then next door is the sort of, the studio, the heart of the operation. Are they? I sense from what you're saying that they're not necessarily two separate zones, if you like.
No, I think that's very interesting what you're saying. I'd never really connected the two of them, but in fact, I mean, this was a little conservatory, which, I've made it a reading room, a prayer room, whatever. And next door, of course, is the action room where I bring forth the ideas, I work them out, and sometimes it takes me an awful long time. But they are totally interconnected, because, one isn't only praying in a room, one is praying in nature, one is praying at a bus stop, one is praying at Tesco's car park. You can see the ground of being in almost everything. It has there's something sacred in everything but of course we're not always like that, because sometimes we're worried, or sometimes we're tired, irritable, bad-tempered, all those things that come in the way. But deep down, there is that unchangeability. I wanted to make it as flexible for the choir as possible, so they didn't feel, oh dear, we can't do this because we haven't got that, or we don't have instruments, or we haven't got that. No, they can mess around with it and make it exactly what would be available for their particular resources. And it's wonderful if they can use the instrumentalists from schools. This is what I would love to feel. I love chants, and you learn the chant in the mind, and you keep repeating it, and you keep repeating it, and then slowly, as you remember it, it goes from the longest journey in the world, getting from mind to heart, and then you pick it up in the heart.
Yes, this sort of ostinato that you have going on in
Yes.
your mind. You sounds like you've got tunes going around in your head all day, really.
Well, it can be that, because, I think it's lovely to have, pieces of psalm or, an ostinato thing going on, even when you're shopping or when you're walking, and it suddenly comes back. And there's something very, very beautiful about that, because it's bringing you into something, say, the sacredness of living, the sacredness, the mystery of ourselves, which we so often forget about. We're part of the great, great mystery. And this brings us, into a very... It brings us into humility and realising the wonder of our being.